Mr. Foreperson, in the matter of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walshe, Norfolk Superior Court Criminal Indictment Number 2023-0091. As to count one, wherein the defendant Brian Walshe is charged with murder in the first degree, what say the jury? Is the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Guilty of what, sir?
Murder in the first degree.
Murder in the first degree. So say you, Mr. Foreperson.
I do.
Brian Walshe with almost a little nod there when hearing that he was found guilty of first-degree murder by a Massachusetts jury. Over 2 days, 5 hours plus of deliberation, they came back and basically said, we don't believe your story. We don't believe that you just found your wife Anna dead and then made the extraordinary decision to not call 911, not seek medical help, even a lawyer. You just decided to chop her up. That was what the defense wanted this jury to believe, that Anna, died mysteriously, and Brian just freaked out, and he just did things that maybe you and I wouldn't do. Well, the jury didn't buy it at the end of the day, so he'll be sentenced on Wednesday. And that's when he will have to listen. He'll have to listen to those victim impact statements of people whose lives were changed by his actions. They will come in and they will talk about Anna. You remember, he and his wife had 3 children. Now they have lost both their mother and their father, who will be spending the rest of his life in prison for what he has done. Lisa Bonner is with us here in studio with the reaction to this. No surprise, I guess, on so many levels. What was surprising was the defense, which was so odd, but then the decision that Brian Walshe didn't want to take the stand after articulating to the court the night before that he would plan to get up there and give it a whirl.
Well, I think that is one of the oldest defense tricks in the book, right? That all defense lawyers basically say, my client can't, he's really considering taking the stand. He really wants to tell him his side of the story. And rarely, if ever, does it happen. And this would have been a disaster for him. Well, it would not have changed the outcome, clearly, as we've seen, but it just...
Well, it might have been a quicker deliberation.
It would have been. But again, I do think that the jury took their time and went through all of the evidence, and they came to the correct conclusion. But I did not think that he was going to take the stand. But in some instances, you really kind of look, and you look at the hubris, if you will, of the defendant. And I at least tend to think sometimes if anybody would do it, it might be this guy. And I kind of, approach that, but it just never works out for him, for a defendant, so I really didn't think that he was going to. Yeah,
pulling the wool over jurors' eyes is a lot harder than people might think. Even for a guy that, he was found guilty of selling fake art. So he was pulling the wool over people's eyes, saying, oh, here's this is worth this, and it was all lies.
Right. And all of the bad acts come into play. They can question him about everything at this point. So, did you do this? And they could start walking him through it. They walk him through all of the prior bad acts, and it just never comes out. Look, no one never comes out looking better and helping their defense. I felt that this was a losing proposition from the beginning. But again, maybe he
probably his idea.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
He was sitting there with his lawyer. And then
right, as opposed to just pleading out and maybe getting a lesser sentence. I think that he probably thought that if anybody could do it, I can.
Right.
And I don't buy that.
Let's head out to Dedham. That's where we find Court TV's Matt Johnson. There is Matt. All right, take us through what we saw. One angle. What did you see in the courtroom?
Well, for starters, Brian Walshe had tears in his eyes, and he stopped and he took a step back as they were escorting him out of the courtroom after that guilty verdict. He looked for his mother. She had already been removed from the courtroom. On several occasions, she has been trying to get his attention. At one point in time before this trial even started a couple weeks ago, she left something at the defense table. It looked to me like it was a note. They have told her many times that she cannot not say anything to the defendant, and she continues to try to do so. Well, today, they removed her from the courtroom before he was escorted out after he was found guilty of butchering and murdering his wife, Anna Walshe. Her family, her friends were not present for the reading of the verdict. I was noticing that the jurors, 6 men and 6 women who worked really hard on this case over the past several weeks, listening to 48 witnesses, looking at all of that evidence very closely, and then deliberating for more than close to 6 hours in this case. When they walked into the courtroom, they made no eye contact with this defendant, and it was also of note that the defense attorneys and the defendant had moved. They had shifted closer to where the jury box was, but not one person on the jury looked at him, and each of them said, yes, he did kill his wife, Anna, and then he disposed of her remains. Ted?
Extraordinary case, extraordinary defense, one so unique that we haven't really seen anything this off the wall in court TV in recent memory. Sentencing now set for Wednesday, and one would expect those same cast of characters that we saw take the witness stand are going to have their opportunity to address not only the court, but Mr. Walshe.
Yeah, that judgment day continues on Wednesday, 9 a.m. This court really wants to take care of this before the holidays. She's going to be asking the jury members that deliberated this case if they want to be seated in the gallery. We're not expecting Anna's mother, unfortunately, or a lot of her family, because remember, she was a binational. She was Serbian. Her mother is in Serbia. Her sister is in Canada. And of course, you know, everyone is curious about the children. She had 3 small boys, all under the age of 6, when she was murdered 3 years ago in her Cohasset home after New Year's celebration. But you're right, you know, as we're expecting some of these victim impact statements, some of them will be written, maybe from the family members that can't be here in Dedham, Massachusetts in attendance, but then maybe from her lover, Willem Fasto, who took the stand and was talking about he wanted to build a life with her. He wanted to cherish her and take care of her and her little boys and build a life in Washington, D.C. He testified. It was very awkward when he was on the stand. He never looked at Anna Walshe's killer, not once. But we're expecting to hear from him. We're expecting to hear from the best friend that was the final witness that broke down on the stand, talking about how Anna was worried about their relationship and how she was concerned about the couple and what Brian Walshe may be capable of. These are just 2 of the people that we expect to hear from on the stand, possibly on Wednesday, when this man faces, actually, there's really no leniency in murder in the first in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. He's facing life behind bars without the possibility of parole.
And a big question will be, given his hubris, as we were talking earlier here on set, will he have some sort of allocution towards the court? And I think everybody would love to possibly hear from him. He's racked up now multiple charges that he's pled guilty to. Then you have the federal case. He's not going anywhere, but this would be his opportunity to say something.
And, you know, we expect him to possibly say something. This is a defendant and now a convicted killer who has been delusional. He thought he could get away with murder and dispose of his wife, lie to people, pretend to be her, and now he is convicted. He looked in shock today. And you know, everyone was in shock last week when the defense did not call any witnesses. The judge in particular, who had researched objections by this defense team, questioned them twice and said, "Are you sure your defendant, your client is not going to be taking the stand?" Because the court had been informed that he had interest in taking the stand in his own defense and testifying. That was a shock to everybody. So this is somebody that wanted to talk during his trial, and this is probably going to be a person, a convicted killer, that's going to want to speak at his sentencing, Ted.
Yeah. In fact, the defense articulated to the judge they had 5 different points of law that they wanted her to research to make rulings on in terms of what could and couldn't be brought up during the cross-examination of Walshe. And when she found out he wasn't testifying, she was a little frustrated. Matt, stand by. We're going to be dissecting all of this, and we'll see if anybody wants to talk. Maybe members of that defense team. Final word here before we get a break. Lisa, this, to Matt's point, you know, his mother supporting him throughout this, and you wonder if he is going to continue to lie to her, and I'm sure he has had a lifetime of lies. We see this all the time, where defendants will lie to their loved ones, and as a parent, you believe it. You want to always support.
You do. You want to believe the best for your child, and what mother would want to admit to herself that her son is a murderer? That is a hard pill to swallow for any parent or sibling or any loved one. And the mother was a mother bear, and she was mama bearing through the whole trial. She was, you know, reaching out to him through letters, through correspondence, you know, just doing whatever she could to support her son. And this is going to be a hard one for mom to swallow, but, you know, it is what it is. The jury has spoken.
So odd that you think about it, and there was mom in the courtroom this morning, how, and being a murderer is much worse than what he was admitting to, and that is the dismemberment of his wife.